Okay, so this is how I divide. Again, I'm just going to stress that this is how I do things. I work around a couple of different obstacles with movement and things in my body that have a few issues. So I do things a little bit differently to some people, but it's basically the same sort of theory along the way, but adapt it to what's going to work for you. Before I divide, I'll just show the tools I get ready before I even start, and that is Glen 20, antibacterial wipes as well. So we just go over our tools. Every plant we touch, we go over our tools again. I've got another 99% or no, 9.9% disinfectant liquid that I'll dip my tools in at the end as well, and they just sit in that cup for a little bit. You can never be too careful. Just always, because viruses and diseases can be spread by soil or insect or new plants even coming in. I just make sure I don't add to that by cross-contaminating from tools. So I clean my tools with a little bit of OCD, and these are probably my best friends to do that. As well as some metho, just popping them in metho, the tools in metho at the end as well. So I sort of hope that there's no risk doing it twice over. So that markers, paintbrush, again that's been Glen 20'd, snippers, and we want some snippers for big chunky stems and hard ones to get to, and then some little ones. These ones are actually gold. These are big handles like scissors, and they're rubber gripped, so I can get my shaky hands into them, which is good, but they've got really fine points on them. These I get new every season at the start of divide time. I'll buy a new pair, and that's these Fiskars, just from Bunnings, or the nurseries have mostly stock Fiskars, but they're just super pointy and really good to get into. Also have my pocket knife, which I need to grab. One sec. Yeah. So I also use a pocket knife I took from my son to add to my collection. So he's really good. I'll show you if I have a really fine part of an eye I need to get to and can't, then I can use a pointy tip. He's really good for the top ones that are a bit fine and you just want to sort of get into it a little bit. The really dense ones as well that have lots of tubers upon tubers. It's really good to have a pocket knife to get into, or some sort of boning knife. I sometimes take his hunting boning knives and use them as well, but this pocket knife I swiped and keep in my little kit now. That's mine. And our best friend is cinnamon. So just regular ground cinnamon from the shops. You can get it in these big chunky packs, which are 60 grams. I normally grab, I don't know, 20 of these. I separate it into a little pot. Each one I do, again, I toss it out after I've dipped one plant in it. I toss it out and redo my cinnamon. So just do a little container like that of cinnamon. Keep the packet close by because sometimes you can't dip it into this little pot. I try and restrict how much I'm going to waste. But I'll keep that there and sprinkle it over. If it's a chunky bit that won't fit in my little container, I'll sprinkle it over. And then lastly, I have brown paper bags. Now that's how I store. Some people put them in airtight tubs with vermiculite or coca peat or peat moss, but I have a pool that's not used in winter, and it has quite a high level of moisture in the air, I guess, and it's quite cold as well. So I'm able to just store in paper bags around the pool space so that they get some moisture as well and don't dehydrate, but they stay really well. That's my storing method, and they've always lasted in brown paper bags in their basket separated for next year's planting and around the pool space. So, and again, the marker. So I write on this to say what it is. Now this is a lifted tuber from 2 days ago. And we've got tartan. He's still a bit green now. Probably should have left him a bit longer to dry off. It's not ideal to take them too early. It's just higher risk of infection if you do take them early. So I probably should have actually waited myself before I took that out because that's just too green. But here we are with this tuber. I'm just going to wipe off some of that dirt. I also have a dustpan and broom on my bench here to wipe it off. I divide in the kitchen just because it's warm for me. Can't be outside for too long doing it or standing, so I sit at a bar stool at the bench and do this, which isn't always ideal, but it works for me. So we can see these, well, first I'll probably tube off all these rat's tails. These get a bit messy, so just go through and tidy, just snip them off, just so it's not messy. If there's any tubers from tubers, just snip them off as well. Tubers from tubers don't grow anything. You'll find that some of these roots will grow their own tubers, but they're useless. I don't see any on this one, although this was trying. These ones were here trying, but that's on the bottom of the mother tuber. Mother tuber's not, oh, here's another one here. The mother tuber's not great to grow next year. You can, but she'll be tired. She's really great to take some cuttings from if you do cuttings along the way. But that's pretty tidy. Any ends that are cut deep like this, cut deep up, I'll cinnamon both the top and bottom of those. So they'll be dipped in cinnamon on the ends once I actually divide. When you go underneath, you can see there's still a little bit of dirt and stuff in there, so I just brush that away. Here you can see where the mother tuber was. So this is the old mother tuber here that went in. Sort of gives us a really good start point for separating that. So first I'm just going to take that bit of stem off. Here's not much good. Now I might just show you how I use a pocket knife. So here we can see there's just a little tuber. He'll probably survive through winter because he's not going to dehydrate out by the pool area. But you can actually see where next year's eye is just there. And on this one you can see two little eyes there. This time of the year you can actually see some of their eyes really visibly. But with him, you need to take all three parts of the tuber. So I'm just going to pop the knife in like that and take him off and then show you. So we've got the tuber here, the neck and the crown that has its little eye attached. If you break the neck, it's useless. It won't survive. So sometimes you actually accidentally break them. Just toss them if you break the neck. But that's divided. That's him done. So what I do then is dip his raw ends in cinnamon. And I trimmed the bottom of that too. So I'm going to dip him in cinnamon. I'll sit him on my brown paper bag where I'm going to store him. And I leave him like that overnight so he can harden off. I don't put them in the bag until they actually harden off. I might actually use my clippers for the next one because you can see he's really easy on top. He's got a couple of eyes there, so he can be an individual, and I'm just going to pop that in, take him off. Now I'm going to dip his end in cinnamon first just to keep him safe, and then I'm going to brush off that dry dirt just to keep him clean. And that's 2. You'll get anywhere from 1 to 50 tubers. So now he's a bit big. I'm going to go up to my tool and I'm going to slice straight through the middle. So you sort of see him going underneath. There's another little tuber there we'll be able to save, and he'll be good for next year. But I'm going to slice straight through there. So I swap and change the tools as I go depending on how intricate it is. There we go. And now we've got 2. When you get dealing with a really big messy clump, just chop it in half. You might sacrifice 1 or 2 tubers, but it helps you get into it. So when you don't know where to start, just chop it in half. You sacrifice some along the way, but if it's a big clump, you can do that. So give him a clean and then have a look for the next point. Now some you won't be able to see eyes on, and some you might decide you're just going to keep them together to make sure you've got an eye. And some you might just take a risk. So I'm just going to chop this through the middle again. These are really little skinny guys that might not last through winter. So I'm going to leave them together. And in the spring, if we get eyes here on this one and then on this one, I'll divide them further. So sometimes I'll divide now as I lift, and then again get some more. Just going to do those ends in there too. So just dip each cut end in the cinnamon. Yeah, so I'll leave him together. There's not a lot of crown left on that. So the 3 parts we're after are the tuber, the neck, and then the crown that comes off this centre stalk. And then we want the eyes attached to that. I've chopped him right in half. So I'm just going to leave him there and let him sit together through spring or through winter. And then in spring, if he's formed some other eyes, so I'm just going to, I can't dip that in my container, so I'm just going to sprinkle that over and know that he's all cinnamoned and safe, and then pop him to the side to dry. Oh, and then I've got the last half of this. Now I've cut into this already and wounded him, so I'm hoping that's enough. Safe crown there. Might not be, but what I'll do is keep this one attached and I'll go in there like that. So hopefully now he's broken. Look, no, he's not going to be any good. He's all broken off and he's got no crown at all, so he'll just become waste. But that's okay, I've taken one and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 divides. I could divide him further. I could take this one off and this one off, but I think I'll leave them together to take care of each other through winter. Just if one tuber loses its moisture or has no eye, it's good to have that back up there. And again, that's not going to fit, so we'll just sprinkle that over. And it doesn't hurt to just, if you're in doubt, just leave them together and come back to them in the spring. In the spring, when you see their eyes come through, you'll know exactly where to cut. You know whether you take that risk or not, but better to be safe. So that's it. That is, just move this to the side, sweep all of that up. So this was one tartan. Look, he's sort of a bit exposed there. So I'll just sprinkle that. So check over them a couple of times before you pop them away. So that's that. I'll write on the bag, pop his name on there before I pop him out. But he sits for a night now so that all of this hardens off. So that cinnamon will help stop bacteria and help dry him out. So he's just going to sit and dry for a day before he goes inside his little bag and sits the winter out. And that's it. That's him divided. Now I have to clean up the mess.